This is
the best late night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk.
Just because we get
Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
It was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
never changes. That spider was huge. It was like if Mothra had a spider, it would be that one. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show on the 6th of May, 2015. Thank you so much for joining us here. Make sure you jump in the chat roll. It's at shrmedia.com. Click live chat and get in the chat roll and be part of the show. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm great.
Good.
Yeah, I'm great.
Good.
Breaking news out of Ohio.
No,
No, we weren't going to go with that story.
Yeah,
right?
no, we weren't leading with that for sure. We definitely weren't leading with that.
We were going
to wait
with that story. We might.
That might be a filler.
Maybe.
Yeah, that could be a good filler if we need it.
Perhaps.
And if we're busy, we're busy.
Speaking of Ohio, we have a new listener.
We do have a new
listener. I want
listener.
to say welcome out of Ohio to Courtney.
Yeah, absolutely glad to have you on board.
Absolutely.
The more listeners, the better. Tell your
So
friends.
that brings
Challenge your friends to listen to the show.
To 3.
5.
Oh, that's because your mom.
Your mom.
And my mom.
Right.
So that's
Sacco's mom is
5.
3.
And then Courtney now.
And Ken.
And Ken.
So that's 5.
So that's 5. Yeah, we're nailing it.
Oh, man.
How you doing, sir?
We have another listener. I didn't know Mary was in Ohio. I didn't
Is
put
she
that
really?
together. So we have another
Well, hello
Ohio
to
listener.
Ohio. So Ohio loves us.
We're huge.
We're almost as big in Ohio as we are in Japan.
Right. We're huge in Ohio. As a matter of fact, 3/4 of our listeners are in Ohio. So that's pretty good. Well, right, in D.C., Ken says he only counts as 3/5, so it's like 4 3/5.
Well, Ken is our token black listener.
Right.
And
That's not
personality.
true, though. We have Mr. E as well.
Mr. E.
Yeah,
that's
he
true.
listens every single week.
He does.
So
So 2.
we have 2.
So we're doing pretty
So
well.
essentially, 40% of our listenership is Black America.
Right. I'm sure Sharpton loves that.
Based on our numbers.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it actually lines up to a lot of figures, so that works out well.
Well, hang on now. 3/5 that's 6/10, so it's really still 3/5.
Right. It's
Now, how does he feel about that, Ken? How do you feel about
It's
that?
1 1/5.
Knowing that even if there's 2 of you, it's still 3/5 because it.
Well, and now Mary says, and it's 2 women. Okay, so now we have to do our male-female breakdown.
Okay.
So that's 4-2, 5-2.
Hang on.
4
This is
1/5.
math. This is not
4
your
and
strong
1/5
suit.
to 2.
Okay.
4 and 1/5 to 2. So that's our male-female breakdown, and I think we're split pretty evenly over and under 40.
Yeah, I think it's.
Now you know the demographics. If we want to advertise here on the Sackheads Radio Show, email Clint at shrmedia.com.
I never check it.
Right, that's why I'm saying email.
Right, that's like my Twitter account.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Don't judge me.
I forgot they can't
I
see
don't even
the
know how
arrow.
to turn that Twitter machine on. I don't even know where the power button is.
It doesn't have its own power, but we've been over that. Oh, so much to talk about tonight that doesn't involve you and Twitter. It's like teaching a monkey how to do astrophysics. I mean, it's really there's a bit. I'm rooting on the monkey. Is all I'm saying right now. Than you actually.
That's not very nice. Listen.
Why does it have to be 140 characters? I have so much more to say. No, the point is it's supposed to be. I don't understand.
Hey, I have a trivia question for you because you were such a Boston Red Sox fan.
Yes, sir.
And I found this earlier this week, and I wanted to ask you. And I actually bet you know the answer to it. Put your phone down, cheater face.
Cheater face.
From 1901 to 1907,
Yes.
the team currently known as the Boston Red Sox
Yes.
was known formerly as...
I knew you were going to do this to me. Formerly known as the Americans.
How do you know this? I was talking to someone and I said, listen, if Sean actually knows what the team was known by before they became the Red Sox, I will concede that he is the ultimate Boston Red Sox fan, and a true fan at that.
Well, and Mary quickly threw out Boston Braves. I give her a lot of credit for that, but that was actually kind of our NL team. They were different organizations. They used to play up on Huntington, BU Field, and that's the Braves originally started. Most people don't know that the Braves originally started in Boston. So there's a lot of history with baseball in Boston.
There is. Now, one other thing, shout out for Vegas in July. Remind folks.
We're going to be going July 8th to 11th to Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Nevada. Join us and many other great affiliates, the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, and more names to be announced later.
We signed our first autographs at an event.
We did down in San Francisco
down in
at
San
the
Francisco.
Cal GOB convention, and we hope to sign a lot more, like 4 or 5.
Right. and
Come see Sacco in the cage.
And hopefully that big fat guy doesn't come down again and ask me to sign his chest. 'Cause
Dude, that was
a little
me.
bit oh, was that you?
That was after the party. Long story. Sacco will be in the cage, and for $2, you will be able to throw a foam football at him. So that's what?
Sacco wants to be
Sacco
pet.
just wants a pat in the head.
No, he said pet me.
I said a foam football. What's the big deal? Okay, fine. Sacco wants you to pet him, and that would be for $5, actually.
Right. No checks or COD.
No checks or no, we will do COD.
We will do COD.
If you show up and pet Sacco, we'll take the $5 cash in
on
hand.
delivery, right.
And so many other great people. We're just kidding. Sacco's going to be in the cage, but you can't throw anything at him. That's cruel and unusual punishment. And we won't have that here at the SHR Media Networks. Seriously. I'm really looking forward to Chris Casey from Windrock Wealth and the speakers that are going to be there. Dinesh D'Souza, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. I think Glenn Beck's on there now, as well as many others. It's going to be exceptional. If you're not going...
And we're going to be on Radio Row.
We will be on.
Want to find us?
We will be on Radio Row. We will have swag, and by that I mean, like when I finish my bottle of whatever I'm drinking. If you want to have that, you're more than welcome to it.
Absolutely.
The shirt off Sacco's back. I mean,
right?
We're going to give it all away.
We don't want.
Like if there was 2 of us, right around the Star Wars, we would be the most popular people there. And I'm actually, I've heard, and all I'm saying, there may be actually a big name that hangs out at the table with us. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to build up.
Let's not spoil that one right away.
Not yet, but it's going to be a good one. So
but we will have to announce before.
Right, at least an hour before. We're going to be doing Sackhead shows live every night from the event. Mm-hmm. I'll be doing my day show. The exceptional one will be doing all his shows from the event from our table at Radio Row. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some other people who are jumping in and going to be broadcasting as well.
I'll be giving away beads.
To Sacco. So it's going to be a huge event, Freedom Fest 2015 at Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas, Nevada, July 8th.
Maybe Harry Reid will stop by.
The 11th.
He believes in freedom.
Probably not.
Be able to see
well, his brother could be in the audience, and we all know what happened last time that happened.
Problem.
So,
allegedly.
Allegedly, I'm sorry. Allegedly, I got to throw that out there. Allegedly.
We have a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, there's a lot. Let's get right into it.
So, Jade Helm 15 is a military exercise that is planned for the southwestern portion of the United States. And this is an exercise that the military says is going to provide some of their personnel, special forces units and so forth, ease of maneuvering through like an urban environment. And there's a lot of concern. Military exercises on U.S. soil, obviously not the first time this has happened, but it's the scale of this exercise that has a lot of people kind of concerned about it. But what's even more interesting, and the part that's bringing a lot of attention to this and causing people that usually aren't conspiracy theorists, and we're not conspiracy theorists on this show by any stretch of the imagination, but what some folks, even those that are traditionally not conspiracy theorists, are concerned about is a map that was released, that got out to the public, showing the states that are involved. This is California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. And
what about Old Mexico? Can we throw that into this?
Ooh, no, that would have to be live fire, not an exercise.
Okay,
I believe.
good call.
I
Good
believe.
call. I'm just saying if we're going to do it, right?
Right, if we're going to do it, but we'd have to wait until they shot across our border, and they never... Oh, wait, they do that.
Right.
Never mind, forget I said anything. If I was president, and that... Do you remember that when that military helicopter went over and shot at the Border Patrol agent?
Yes.
And then flew back?
Yes.
I would have launched a missile at that base.
Yes.
And destroyed that helicopter, and sends a message, right?
Right.
I bet they stop.
Well, it's almost how strong we deal with ISIS. Oh, forget it. Keep
Forget
going.
it, we don't deal with ISIS. That's another segment, actually. We'll get into that.
It's weird how I tease that.
So what's interesting, though...
we do this for a living.
What's interesting is the map is color-coded, and the states in blue are considered friendly states.
Oh, good.
The states in red are considered hostile.
California.
And this is just for military. It's just an exercise. There's no rhyme or reason.
That's
to this.
why California is blue.
The areas in red are considered hostile. The areas in light blue are considered
Either way.
unknown threat, but lean friendly. And the states in brown are considered unknown threat, lean hostile.
I think I dated a girl like that when I was younger. But go ahead.
Eileen hostile.
Who leaned hostile.
Right.
It was only after she started dating me, though. I can't figure that part out.
It's weird. It's kind of like all the relationships in your life. So...
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry. Well, especially your mom. I
Yeah.
met your mom. She's a sweet lady. I don't know how you came from
No, she was.
that. But the states that are red are Utah and Texas,
Mm-hmm.
two heavily Republican areas. That's weird.
Weird, right?
Why they would be considered hostile
Well,
under
you
this
just need two numbers.
exercise.
You need two
And-
colors that are completely just
And there's an insurgent pocket that's in red in the southern portion of California.
Well, why
by
wouldn't there
San
be?
Diego County,
Oh.
which happens to be more
conservative.
leaning. I'm sure it's a coincidence. The states that are blue
Mm-hmm.
are California, Nevada, and Colorado. Ooh, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, that's weird.
The states leaning hostile but unknown threat is New Mexico. And the state unknown threat leaning friendly is Arizona. And that has people concerned because the predominantly Republican or the more conservative states, Texas and Utah, and then the southern area of California, which San Diego County, which does tend to lean conservative, are considered hostile for this exercise. And that's where the military is going to be conducting their their exercises for dealing with those hostilities. So much so that the politicians in Texas are really, there's a lot of uproar in Texas, and rightfully so. But they're saying that, hey, are they preparing for a big martial law exercise where they perceive potential problems if there's a big government situation, where they think they're going to have to deal with folks in that particular area? And so Governor Abbott, the governor out of Texas, has already asked the state guard to monitor the exercise.
Well, can I interject for a sec?
Yeah, please.
So the exercise itself, they're saying that the geography of the areas involved match certain foreign geographies in which special forces operators may have to operate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Also, the plan or the objective is to try to get special operatives to blend into the community unnoticed. That is like a major part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, if you live in these areas, you become concerned that even throw out any conspiracy at all, it's still a military exercise, and the military's practice in infiltrating your neighborhood. It's still kind of scary. Even if everything is 100% legit. Listen, flash forward, there was zero ill intent. Nothing. There was no reason that this is all coincidence, the fact that red and...
Right.
It's still kind of scary to me that the U.S. military is practicing infiltrating our own people.
Well, hang on a second. And if this were an exercise where, because the topography or whatnot is similar to areas overseas that they may have to operate in, why would they practice blending into an urban American environment?
Why wouldn't you?
Instead of going to perhaps a neighborhood or an area that is predominantly, I don't know, Muslim? Or predominantly
like 47th and Franklin Ave?
In Sacramento, right?
In Sacramento?
Or an area that predominantly has the ethnic makeup for whatever area you think you may have to infiltrate and fit in with. That would make more sense to me.
Right, and
but why are you going to consider Utah and Texas hostile and practice infiltrating and fitting in there? I'm pretty sure they don't wear Ariat cowboy boots and Stetson hats
in the Ukraine.
In the Ukraine, for example.
Well, some might.
Maybe a couple, right?
They love our Western culture.
Right. And for you operators that are infiltrating, dump the 511 pants.
No 511 pants.
And the contractor caps.
Seriously.
Okay.
And shave the beard.
And the ops gear T-shirts.
Right, shave the beard.
Right, shave the beard.
Put your mechanic's glove away. You don't need those at the dairy bar.
Right.
Try to wear boots other than
Shed
brown.
The backpack.
Right, no boots other than brown or black.
No multicam.
Right, no tech cam, multicam.
Kind of a giveaway.
Put it this way, if you're in your Class Bs, that might not be good either. I'm just throwing it. You might want to try dungarees. That's right, I said dungarees.
Dickies.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be in a working class neighborhood. You're going to be with real Americans that actually work hard in most of these areas. Dress like it. If you're in Southern California,
and not with a backpack, with all the Molly stuff,
with all the Molly attachments,
and the American flag,
the depressed American flag patch.
All subdued patches everywhere.
Here's the best part, though. In Texas, they're going to show up dressed like what they image to be Texas to be, and everyone else is going to be dressed like that.
Exactly, because everybody else is carrying.
What the hell? Everybody must have beat us to the objective.
Hey,
There's like thousands of us here.
What unit are you with? Unit?
I live up in 4B. Right. Did we start late? Did we have the wrong watches? What the hell?
Did we miss the meeting?
Did we miss the meeting? Oh, that's kind of funny to think about, actually.
So I think it's interesting that the governor has the State Guard monitor the exercise. And what I don't know if it's the National Guard that he has monitoring or if it's the actual state.
It's the actual State Guard.
Military.
Governor Abbott announced it will be the actual State Guard, which falls strictly under state control.
And here's what some of our listeners may not know. We've talked about it before on this show. So the Constitution prohibits states from raising or housing or maintaining their own troops without the express consent of Congress. Mm-hmm. And the National Guard obviously is capable of being federalized. So during situations or for emergencies or anything of that nature.
Natural disasters, you name it.
So the states petitioned Congress, said, hey, you have all of our forces, essentially, our Guard forces, mobilized, and we have nobody here to deal with any of the situations that may come up. So Congress authorized the states and the territories to maintain a military reserve force that is not subject to federal call-out and that are solely under the control of the states. And several states have them, not all of them. I think it's around 30, 33 states, plus Puerto Rico has them. California has a state military reserve. Texas has a state military reserve.
Massachusetts.
Yep. And these are troops that are not subject to any kind of federal regulation call-up. They still have a military. They have a formal rank structure. They have weapons training.
The only,
they go through everything. But
the only time somebody from that unit can get called would be like a draft situation where they get called from that unit to the active duty military.
But it'd be a draft.
Right. But the president or the military higher-ups can never call them. From my understanding,
the president and Congress can never activate them
right
for federal purposes.
Right. From my understanding, there may be one caveat in there, but I don't think so.
There's not, and because otherwise they would fall under the Guard. So the fact that, and I didn't know which unit it was because it's referred to as the State Guard.
Right.
In the articles I've read and the releases that were done. But the fact that it is the State Military Reserve is huge because nobody at the federal level has the power to activate them and then insert them into the exercise, or activate them and then order them around any particular portion of this exercise.
Right.
When is the last time you have ever heard about a state force monitoring federal or the lawful authorities' troops?
Well, and here's why this is an awesome precedence. Because you don't hear about this a lot. Very rarely. Very few and far between.
I don't know of any time
you have
that this has happened.
I'm sure you may have some sheriffs that if you are a federal law enforcement agency and you want to work within that county on A, B, and C, that they have their own officers there and you could kind of equate that. Mm-hmm. However, on a scale such as this, I off the top of my head, I honestly cannot remember. And it is a big deal. And what this does, and you know what, Governor Abbott has all my respect for this especially. I mean, he's a great guy anyhow. But in this,
yeah, look,
even if
the left called him right away, they said he was pandering to idiots.
Yep. But here's the deal. As the governor, if your constituents have a concern and you have the means to address that concern in a way that doesn't impede, however, informs, and puts your constituents, your state's mind at rest.
Because that's who he answers to.
That is his job.
Absolutely. He doesn't answer to anybody outside of the state of Texas, the president or anybody else. And he came out and he said, look, basically somebody has to be in charge about gathering and disseminating information about what's happening so that we can keep our people informed. And we stepped in to play that role. And the people of Texas are supporting
absolutely
for those folks. And that's
people outside of Texas supporting them. I am one of them.
Absolutely. And that, look, that is the role of these states.
Yes.
They have that authority to do that under the 10th Amendment. So, look, people are concerned, and there are folks that are absolutely understanding of that, particularly some of the elected officials from the areas labeled as hostile. But I'm very interested to see kind of how this plays out, and I am I don't know if I'm angry, but I am upset and certainly concerned about, like I said, the areas that they label as hostile.
Well, and listen, it goes back to calling Tea Parties terrorists, and in the military colleges teaching that the revolutionaries were a negative thing and that they were terrorists at the time. It kind of follows this current military leadership's agenda and role.
And it's not like they have like a swath cut out through Texas and into Arizona or something that has like a hostile area. It's the entire state.
Right.
Of Texas, or the entire state of Utah.
The only thing that'd be worse is if like Houston was in blue, because that's kind of a Democratic area.
Right. The hostile areas follow state lines.
Right.
With the exception of the pocket in California, southern portion of California. And it almost seems like, hey, this is the federal government practicing war against the states. Like I said, different if the hostile areas kind of transcended state lines.
Or if there was no state lines involved.
Right.
Then, yeah, okay.
Just a topographical map with because, hey, if you're really worried about topography, what do you need state lines for?
Well, and you could even have that argument because the whole reason red and blue were picked for Republicans and Democrats is that the colors contrasted so greatly. Mm-hmm. There was never any confusion.
And yet blue is friendly.
However, in this one, you maybe could have thrown some other colors in there. I hear mauve is a lovely color.
Salmon.
Salmon, a nice salmon.
Chartreuse.
It's sharp. It sticks out. Teal. Go with teal. But when you go straight red and blue.
Go with periwinkle.
Periwinkle. When you go straight red and blue and you do it in such a large area and you're having active duty military try to infiltrate the local public, don't be shocked when people become alarmed. And listen, I honestly... I don't believe all the hype per se.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not a reason to be concerned, but I don't necessarily buy all of the hype. Now, could portions of this exercise absolutely be used in the case of a declaration of martial law, however legal or not? Mm-hmm. Of course. But let's be honest, no matter where they operate and exercise, they can use that for that same purpose, either foreign lands. And listen, folks, one of the other things, too, and a friend of mine who was in the military said, hey, you know what? They could train all over the world and do this and get away with it without us in this country ever knowing that it was going on. And if they were training truly for martial law?
I don't think so, because you still have a huge uptick in military vehicular and air traffic. That would be noticeable. Because those operators are going to be inserted via helicopter.
Right.
They're going to be inserted.
But if you're in an area overseas where the American military regularly operates,
right,
it wouldn't stick out.
Exactly. You can conduct those operations over there.
Right. So for them to do it over here, I don't know if it raises as much of a flag as some people think. Yeah, it deserves scrutiny. It absolutely deserves
scrutiny.
It
does deserve scrutiny.
But
it should be scrutinized.
As soon as Governor Abbott said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to turn around, put the DPS on it, and I'm not worried, is kind of his approach. I think that should put a lot of people at ease.
And I think he's not worried because he realizes that Texans are a bunch of badasses.
Well,
and that his military reserve force could probably handle anything that Obama throws at him. So
his military force? You kidding me? The bingo club.
Right. The governor's probably like, what's Obama going to send, the EPA?
Right.
Well, their guns shoot like flower pods. Right, we need a tree there. Bang, there's a seed.
We need a tree there. Oh, that neighborhood looks dangerous. Let's just put flowers over there. And I don't know. How does everyone here feel about trellises? I think trellises all the way down. We can use them like prison bars to keep them in, but it'll also add... I know we're up against a break, and I don't want to jump off this topic. Do you hear about the latest thing that they may be shutting off some of the lights in Times Square as part of a beautification project being ordered by the federal government? What? The Times Square, crossroads of the world, known for its bright, brilliant, and beautiful displays, a sign of America itself, a symbol throughout the entire world. Everyone can recognize Times Square. Now, due to some ridiculous beautification project that involves federal money, X, Y, and Z, the federal government may be trying to shut down a majority of the lights in Times Square.
Why? Are lights not beautiful?
I don't know, Margot.
Why would you shut down lights?
Because you can.
Because he wants to bring darkness to the realm.
Well, I honestly, my first thought was because it's a sign of American exceptionalism.
You know what my thought?
It is a symbol of American exceptionalism.
Here's another reason that's... Socko shut the door on us. We're up against a break.
Producer extraordinaire gets
when
the
we
final
come back,
word.
Sean's segment. We're going to talk about Texas this week.
We're going to talk about a lot of things in Texas right here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
You nailed that outro.
Hey, I do what I can.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Socko as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
We are. And welcome back. Oh, am I back on or what, Sacco? You're just teasing my heart right now. And we're back. Okay, thank you.
Let me out!
This is why we keep him in the cage.
I know, right? We're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me. And Clint and Sacco. What? I'm not touching my cord, dude. It's in. Look, it's in. I can't control it. You're the sound guy. Why do I fix it? Is it better? Oh, boy. Here, how's that? Am I finally okay now? This is what happens when we go away. Clint, you're going to have to take this segment. Sacco's going to fix me.
Nobody can fix you. Who can fix you? Yeah, Sean, why don't you go ahead and just take that out and just blow in it. That'll you nailed that one. I wish listen, so when we get our studio cam.
I hate you all.
Monkey in a football, folks.
Well, you know, when we go on the road, and these things happen. These things happen. We wear and tear and put thousands of miles on them. They're all over. Hey, we're back on the Sackheads Radio Show. Please excuse the technical difficulties. Thanks, Sacco.
You can't play communist music. We're not talking about a communist segment right now, Sacco.
Yet. It's a very sad time. Yeah.
Hang on, play that music again. I have a quick segment.
Okay. Oh no. He wants the Vocal Boatman. Play it.
What do you? So since we had communist music up, we're going to go ahead and do a communist segment here for a quick moment. So we've talked on this show several times about how Russians have started flying their nuclear-capable bombers close to U.S. soil again, and had their ballistic missile submarines in the Gulf of Mexico undetected for 30 days. And Putin is on the move. Well,
right along.
On April 22nd, two Bear-H bombers again flew into the Alaska zone on an exercise. This is intruded into the U.S. air defense zone near Alaska. Again, another latest attempt by Moscow to intimidate. Again, it feels like we're going back to the Cold War era of the 80s. Yes, I know I'm old for those
on the 80s
right here. So thanks. I'll just go ahead and nip that in the bud. But unlike other earlier incursions into the U.S. air defense zone by Russia, there were no U.S. jets dispatched to shadow them.
Well, if you just ignore the bully, they'll go away, Clint.
I forgot about that.
Just ignore them, they'll go away.
I forgot about that.
I think that you should get target lock on them and threaten to throw some ordnance up their afterburners. But if you want to ignore them and
they're turboprops. The Tu-95s are turboprops.
Oh, I thought the Blackjack was there too. The Blackjack bomber.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I apologize then.
No, and why does it have to be a Blackjack?
Well, that's
why
the name
are you
of
such a racist?
It. That's the name
Why
of it.
Why can't it be a White Jack?
Have you ever played the game? Obviously not.
You know that's all I play. You've gambled with me before.
White Jack.
White Jack.
You know how hard,
Right.
you know how hard it is to find that table?
Oh, God, I searched for hours.
In Vegas, we're just going to be walking in circles. You guys have any White Jack? All I can think of is, you ever see the original Ocean's 11?
Oh, yeah.
And Bernie Mac?
Yes. That's
But
not
sure-
the original, but yeah.
No, that was the first. Well,
No, the
I'm
original was
sorry,
the
the
60s
original
version.
reboot, I
Listen,
should
don't
say.
sound ignorant
I
right
know.
now. We have thousands of people listening to us.
Literally hundreds. Dozens of people are offended
Literally
right now.
ones of people
I know the original one had
are
the Rat Pack in it. I meant the reboot. I was talking to the young crowd you just addressed. Anyhow, with Bernie Mac when he's being interviewed in the room and he's, you want me to dance, sing a song? Because you sure as hell don't want me to deal the cards. You should call it White Jack. That was the best line. Oh, good comedian we lost. That's a shame, but
All right, your story, Texas.
So early in Texas, as everyone knows by now, there was an attack at at a school that was hosting a Muslim depiction drawing contest. Mohammed, rather.
Drawing.
So
Right.
what did I say? Drawing?
I was translating for those that don't speak Bostonian. Drawing is drawing or art.
So it's put on.
Sean's the only guy I know that could go see the Mona Lisa and say, "Look at that drawing."
If I was from another country, you wouldn't make fun of my accent.
You are from another country. It's
I might as
called
well
Boston.
be. Anyhow, so it's put on by Pamela Geller. It was essentially a free speech competition. It was in response. There was a Muslim event that was allowed to go on in the area earlier, and this was kind of in response. By the way, the guy who won the contest was a former Muslim who's converted. But in the midst of it all, these two a-holes who claimed allegiance to ISIS arrived, AK-47s, I believe, wearing body armor, opened fire on the front, hit an unarmed security guard because, for whatever reason, we still employ unarmed security guards in this world. I'll never understand that. Just because.
Because guns are evil, Sean.
I know.
If he had a gun, do you know how many people could have been hurt?
So, good. Iggy's in the chat room. In February, the same school had a Support the Prophet Day. Prophet meaning Mohammed.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't a capitalist event?
It wasn't a capitalist event whatsoever. It should have been.
Because otherwise we would have been there.
Should have been. Either way, these two guys open up with rifles. Inside the building was the Garland SWAT team because they had activity. They had chatter that there were threats against this particular event. They prepared for it, and the SWAT team was inside. Lo and behold, outside, as the shooting transpired, a traffic cop, and I'm going to segue into a 2A argument here in a little bit, but a traffic cop pulls up, hears the gunshots, engages the two suspects, kills them both with nothing but a Glock 45. They're wearing body armor and a long rifle. Anyone that knows ballistics, anybody whatsoever, the worst fight you want to be in,
is a rifle
gun on
versus a
gun,
handgun.
is a rifle versus a handgun.
Or a rifle versus being unarmed.
Well,
that's pretty bad.
I said gun on gun.
Oh, okay.
It's absolutely just a horrifying. I can't imagine all the years that I've used weapons. I can't imagine being in that situation. It's got to be the most frightening thing. And this cop,
when it's over, right?
Yeah, well, during it, right? You're not even thinking. This cop, God bless him, was able to put both of these guys down before they were able to hurt himself or anyone else. Investigation ensues. They thought there was explosives in the car. They detonated the car just to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that one of these guys, Elliot, was arrested for terrorist activity, charged federally, and given probation.
Well, why wouldn't you give a terrorist probation?
And why wouldn't you keep tabs on him afterwards? He's a terrorist.
Because it's probation, Sean. It's not like he went to prison. It's not like he was violent. He hadn't killed anybody yet.
The second one had activity as well online with certain people in the ISIS community and Muslim extremist community. They're vetting them now. It should have been done beforehand. And this is one of those things, before I move on to the ISIS is here conversation, this is one of those things that scares me, and I'll tell you why. We see systemic failure in the scrubbing of these individuals. We've seen it with Tsarnaev, the brother, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, in the Boston Marathon bombings. We're now seeing it with this guy. There was chatter ahead of time. This guy was actively chattering online with ISIS sympathizers or ISIS combatants. There was reason to watch these two guys on a totally unrelated event based on that information. And now, days going up to it, tweets going up to it, it proved that we are not as protected as we think. And that the government...
Who thinks we're protected?
A lot of... The government tells
don't.
a lot of people, we'll be fine, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. So, fortunately, out of all of this, only one individual security guard was injured. And it was an extremely minor injury. These guys had, from what I understand... couple magazines apiece, 30 rounders. They could have done some heavy damage.
They had to.
20 minutes later, when 200 people were exiting the building, it could have been a bloodbath.
You know what I want to know? I want to know why Texas doesn't make murder illegal. Because we all know if you pass a law making something illegal, it won't happen anymore.
It's pretty illegal.
First of all, I think the cop surprised those guys. Because those guys were working together, they could have easily maneuvered and utilized small unit tactics, much like we saw them do in France.
Right, he had the drop, and he took it.
He had the drop on him, and he took it. Good for him.
He had better tactics.
I think he's a hero.
Absolutely.
But the conversation that made me angry was I heard a lot of folks on the left and on several talk shows calling out the organizer for the event,
yes,
Miss Geller, basically faulting her. Saying, well, why do you have a contest?
Why did you have such an incendiary contest?
Right, that is knowing it's going to upset people because you can't draw the Prophet Muhammad. Well, you know it's going to upset them. Why would you even have that? Well, do you remember the Piss Christ?
Oh, yeah.
And they called that art.
Right.
This guy, this individual, and I don't even remember Knucklehead's name, he took a crucifix, put it in a jar of his own urine, and that was art. And he got like $50,000 in taxpayer money to do that and put it on display and called it the Piss Christ.
Right. Meanwhile, I spend hours...
and that was beautiful art, right? That's...
Expression. He's expressing himself. He's
but
such
if
an
you
open...
draw the prophet...
Look how deep thought he is. I mean, he must spend just hours thinking about his art. No, he had a couple beers, took a swort in a can, and then threw the symbol of the Savior into it and put a cover on it and called it a day.
Right.
Yeah, he's an artist. Dude, I didn't realize how much art I made in my early years in life.
And now.
And now, on some occasion. Where's my millions? I do it on a Yankees jersey all the time. You would think I'd be paid an exorbitant amount of money for that.
Right.
It's art to me.
And probably to a lot of Boston fans.
Right. I would be, yes, absolutely.
Very few people on the left defended Miss Geller, saying, hey, she has a First Amendment right to do this. Look, the First Amendment of the Constitution does not protect speech that you like. It also protects speech that you don't like. That's what makes us a beautiful country. You don't have to agree on all the issues, right? You don't have to agree. We can have robust debate. That's how we improve as a people and as a society.
Based on that theory, does that mean that I can now drive to 47th and Franklin and destroy the sign that's up there?
No, because you're destroying property.
Right. Totally different now.
Right.
I could take lives, and I'll be defended by the left.
Right.
But if I destroy property because I find it personally offensive,
right,
I'm a monster.
And it's a hate crime. Because you did it because it's a Muslim crime? Right, because you hate the fact that the sign is Muslim. That's what they would say.
Oh, it's like living in Bizarro Superman world. It really is mind-boggling to me that we've gotten to this point.
Hello, California.
Hello.
I support her First Amendment right to do it.
Yep.
I would choose not... And even if I did, I probably wouldn't go to that event just because I would imagine that there would be a higher threat level at that particular event.
Right, tactically versus...
Right, tactically I would decide...
Versus agreement, disagreement.
Correct, right. Probably not to go to that, unless I was armed in that case.
Which you couldn't have been if you were a private citizen because it was in a school which is a gun-free zone.
Not in Texas, right? Our school's gun-free zones in Texas.
Let me turn to Dan Butcher, who's in the chat room, if you can answer that question. Dan, gun-free zones, Texas? Yeah, you're... Nay.
Yeah, I would imagine that you could have a gun. Would the left not come out against ISIS? And I know the answer to this, but I'm throwing it out.
Because it's not popular. Because it's not popular. We're trying not to offend anyone. Listen, in this case, specifically, they're going to attack Pamela Geller for one of two reasons that they won't attack
because
ISIS.
she's a woman.
Because she's a
because
female
she's a
conservative.
Female. Oh, I was just going to say female because there's a war on women, I heard.
Right, from the left. She's a female conservative, but more importantly, I think the mainstream media, if they're not complicit with the left agenda when it comes to ISIS and Muslims, I think they're afraid. And I mean that. I think they're gutless. I think that they absolutely are afraid that if... Oh, and she's also Jewish, Pamela Geller. I did not know that. I think they're afraid that if they take too hard a stance and go out too strong, that the explosive could show up at the studio.
Why has this not been called an act of terror?
Oh, why hasn't the president spoke about this already?
Yeah.
Why does he send out Josh Earnest? I mean, it's one of those things where we don't condone any violence.
No, it's not one of those things.
No, this is
an
terrorism.
act of terror on U.S. soil.
Right.
Again,
another
Mr.
one.
President, on
another
your watch.
One. And again, completed by Islamic extremists from the JV squad, it looks like, based on the investigation.
Right. Well, actually, since they only wounded one guy minor and was taken out by a single guy
these
with
guys
a handgun.
actually probably
These guys
were
actually
the JV
were
squad.
JV, so...
But in general, I mean, they're still part of the school, right? I mean, someday they may play the... Well, not these two, but...
Not these two, because they're not... They got
one of the best tweets I saw out there about this whole thing was a comedian by the name of Evan Sayet, and he turned around and he said the best piece of artwork at that event that day was the two chalk outlines out in front.
Right.
I got to give him props on that one.
Absolutely.
The only thing would have been better is if Miss Geller herself walked up to the chalk outlines and put a blue ribbon on it and walked away. I think that would have summed up the entire day. And listen, the running joke is Texas is 2, ISIS is 0. But we need, and of course immediately afterwards, like you said, the outrage went towards Miss Geller. How dare she? Even Jon Stewart, who's about as left as you can get, came out on his show last night. He essentially said, hey, I don't agree with it. It was stupid to have this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, this is America. It is her First Amendment right. It is everybody else's First Amendment right. And nobody deserves to die over art. And when Jon Stewart says that, it shows you how close this hits. It's, in a way, it's its own satire.
Look, you and I disagree with a lot of things that are said, particularly by the left. But we support their right to say it.
Well, of course.
But that's never reciprocated.
No. This is a two-way street.
One way. One way.
What should be is what I'm saying, a two-way street.
I
actually wrote an article today called The Double Barrel something or other. Double barrel blame shot. And essentially, I'm equating to how they attack with Baltimore and defend with Texas. And if you watch how they'll attack the police because they can get away with it, they vilify the police in Baltimore and all over the country.
Right.
Because they get away with it and because, they're oppressive and they're just running around.
We're not going to blame crime.
Killing black kids. Right. We're not going to hold the community responsible for the people that are causing the problems.
Right.
We won't do that because that's mean and evil. Let's flip this around. The community that attempted to kill people at an art exhibit gets defended And there was an MSNBC correspondent or host, jackass, who turned around and said, he's Muslim, and turned around and said, well, I think that the prophet should be protected from violations of the First Amendment Act, and people shouldn't be allowed to say. Are you kidding me? So you're going to defend the guys that were pulling the trigger by vilifying Pamela Geller as the incendiary person behind this?
Right.
But on the flip, 5 minutes later on the same network, you're going to sit there and vilify the police and not push responsibility on the people that burned down their own city.
Right. And you're going to say, on one hand, the First Amendment shouldn't protect the drawing of Muhammad because we have a First Amendment right to our freedom of religion.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
What?
I don't even know how that worked.
Well,
and then I heard the gun argument again.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Neither one of them should have possessed them legally. That argument's over. Next.
Right.
Idiots.
Right.
Idiots.
Those guns were illegal, and so was attempted murder.
Right.
So...
I had a brilliant idea on gun-free zones today, by the way. Go ahead.
I want to hear your idea. After mine.
Okay, good.
So, I have this is a national security issue.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Correct? We are at war with ISIS. Correct?
Last time I checked.
So, we know ISIS is here in America. And we're going to get to it next segment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we obviously know they're here because of what happened in Texas.
Yes.
This segment. The militia, as defined in the U.S. Code, is the people themselves.
Any able-bodied person between the ages of, is it 18 and 67?
With prior military service. Otherwise, it's 18 to 45. So the militia we know is comprised of the people themselves. You have the formal and the informal militia. The formal militia being the National Guard. The informal militia being the people themselves. So if we're at war,
yes,
and the militia as a body is responsible for defense of the homeland, and can be called up because we do have a draft, then isn't it the responsibility of the militia or the people themselves to be armed so that we can protect ourselves here at home? Therefore, shouldn't it be mandated that people be armed and there are no gun-free zones?
I absolutely agree.
Right?
And this
because
actually dovetails into my thought.
Well, perfect. So we're in a state of war. We know the enemy is here in the United States because they just completed an attack here, and we actually have more information on that next segment in terms of how many of them are actually here. And it's the militia's job to protect that. Look, I think there's an argument right there.
I agree, Clint. You just took the wind out of my sails. No, I'm kidding. I have a second argument for this. First of all, I think your idea holds water, and I may actually contact an attorney I know to get some clarification on that and just see what would have to be to prove that. Because the other question I had is, most states that require a CCW, in some counties or cities, you have to provide what they call just cause. You have to show the reason. I agree that the Second Amendment, and a lot of other states too.
That was just shot down in California.
Right. I agree that the Second Amendment should be my CCW. However, that's a fight we need to have ongoing. I am talking about here and now, the way it is and we're stuck with.
Right.
Why, if we now know that ISIS is here, why can not be just cause?
Well, I think first of all, the Ninth Circuit, so those states covered by the Ninth Circuit, a 3-judge panel on the Ninth Circuit ruled that in California you can no longer show just cause because they outlawed open carry, and if you outlawed open carry,
then you give no way for people to maintain.
Then you give no way for people to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Therefore,
in the appeal, it happens to be the county I live in. But and prime example of a Democrat not listening to the constituents but listening to where the money is. There's one city in the entire county that's liberal. They're the ones that have the highest population and the highest income. And they elected this sheriff, a Democrat, and maintain him in office through their exorbitant amount of money, defying the rest of the entire county.
Yep.
So we're, again, making a rule for a tiny percentage that the rest of us have to suffer for.
Yeah. Or a tiny geographic area anyways.
Right.
Just one concentrated area.
Yeah.
Hey, elect your city officials and leave the rest of us alone.
Right.
Right?
That was a rule I wanted to make is, hey, if you lived in a county, if you were an incorporated area, why should you get to vote in the county election? But that's neither here nor there. That's just me all the time off
That's
the
you,
air.
grumpy old man right there. That is classic Sean. For those of you who don't know Sean off the air, I'm like, Sean, guess what?
I do it all the time.
Here's the coffee, Sean. Nah, thanks.
Get away from me.
Order a large Boston, thanks.
20 minutes from now. Come back in 20 minutes. Talk to me. You know what's great is people that I've worked with for years will walk up to me and go, have you had your coffee? Leave me alone. Even if I'm drinking my coffee. Right. Have you had your coffee yet? Nope. You know. But we dodged a bullet here, literally.
Literally,
this could have been a hell of a lot worse, and there could have been an exorbitant loss of life.
There could have been, and if this were any other state, there might have been more.
Oh yeah. Well, if you didn't have,
you went up against a Texas cop. I mean, come on.
You went up against Texans in general,
right?
Because I guarantee you, even without the guns, they probably would have just ran out and choked them to death.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like something. It's Texas.
Hit him with the car.
There's a reason they say you don't mess with
Rope
Texas.
him.
You don't screw with Texans. Never mind the fact that it's kind of the heart of our nation, and I truly believe that. I believe that Texas, in many ways, is the heart of our nation because of the people there and their view, the vast majority of how they view our nation, the Constitution. I believe very much so that it's a part of the heartbeat of our nation.
What the hell is that, Sacco?
That's not the door closing.
No, that's the new sound.
I love how he just throws it in. Oh, by the way, new sound. But listen, these guys weren't going to win anyhow. I don't believe. I don't think they ever would have made it out alive, even if they tried to, like they did in Paris.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Even if the cops weren't there. And listen, I brought this up when we were talking about Second Amendment earlier today. Is if you live in a rural area, if this was at a rural school that wasn't in Garland, Texas, say it was one of the schools out in the county. And this event happened, you still had 200 people show up, and these two nitwits showed up. And maybe they had one cop there, or maybe they didn't have any because they couldn't afford it or whatever. You're now waiting 15 to 20 minutes in some areas for an officer to respond. Mm-hmm. And you really have to start thinking. And even in the city, you can wait 7, 8, 9 minutes depending on traffic and stuff like that. We really have to start thinking about what's best to protect our people.
You know what the government could do to put this whole? I'm going to dovetail this back into our previous segment. You know what the government could do to put more people at rest about this exercise they're having in the United States?
What?
If they were to say, listen, we just had an ISIS attack in Texas. We have intel about other attacks pending, perhaps, and other folks operating. So, yes, we are conducting exercises, and yes, we do want to blend into civilian populations in America, but it's only so that we can take action at events like these very swiftly when ISIS does attack, because we are in a state of war.
We are. We are in an
right?
active state of war.
That would be an explanation, I would say, that actually kind of makes sense. But that's not what they're saying.
No, that's not at all what they're saying. They're essentially saying it'll be fine. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Josh Earnest essentially said, we're aware of the shooting in Texas. I won't call it terrorism. I won't say the word Muslim. And I'm just going to say kind of meanies.
We're up against a
Is that the official statement of the White House? Uh-huh. Okay, go to your room, Josh. Okay. I'm going to go play with Joe now. Bye, Josh. Yay. We are up against a break. When we come back, ISIS here in America. Are they your neighbors? We don't know. But we're going to take some wild guesses right here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Socko as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in. Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
We are back. We're back with the Sackheads Radio Show, inspiring youth all over America and scaring the hell out of that weird Democrat that lives next door. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I like that one. I may have to write it down.
One of our younger listeners was actually inspired to wear her America shirt.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. The more we can do to inspire, the better.
Absolutely.
Just depends on who we're inspiring.
Right. Hopefully it's not Inspire like the magazine.
I'm expecting death threats this week.
Bad. Again?
Again. I'm expecting them from this show. I am. So hopefully I inspired some. That's how I know. I kind of giggle when I get them. First of all, because I'm not afraid at all whatsoever. Second of all, I think it's funny that somebody would go out of their way to type in my email, Sean@shrmedia.com, and actually take time to describe how they want to hurt me. It's cute. I know. Usually it's from Socko, and text messages and tweets, but
what's funny is he tries to mask his number. Right.
Well, when you start off every text with, "Hey, this isn't Socko, but,"
right. Right. I have no idea who Socko is.
When he sends me a picture of the knife, and it just looks like a bear holding a knife, like a bear paw. I'm like, I know who that guy is.
Right. If there's no hair on the palms, it's kind of weird.
I do have to give massive props to Socko, because this weekend we went down to Southern California. We covered the Eagle Forum Fest.
Yeah.
And so there was another. This is a great story. So we get there. It's me, Jason, Corey, Socko.
I wish I could have been there.
I wish you could have been there too. And there's we get brought up to this beautiful control room. It was awesome. Like, the setup was great.
I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah. Well, I have pictures for you.
Perfect.
I'm not feeling guilty. Not at all, so don't even try that.
No, I know. I'm saying I wish I could have been there.
But Sacco, the other engineer who was helping us kind of connect into the internal sound system, and Sacco started talking, and I glazed over like 5th grade math. All of a sudden, it's like, well, the line in, and then the feed, and then the mixer, and then the blah, 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 this, that, and I was just like, in the back of my head, it was like cartoons where like birds were just singing over my head, and I was lost.
Right.
But within 20 minutes, Sacco, was it 25 minutes maybe? 25 minutes, he had our entire sound system on board, mics, computers, all set up, and we went to air. And I was impressed. I know we give him a lot of hell here on the show, and it's completely deserved.
You give him a lot of hell.
And it's deserved.
I don't give him a lot of hell at all. I speak the truth.
But when you see him at work and how impressive it is, and it was absolutely impressive, and I give you nothing but kudos for pulling that off, and I was really impressed. And then just directed the entire day and kind of had things in hand. So, for all the hell we give him, he deserves it, is what I'm getting at. You have one good day at the plate, son. It doesn't make you an all-star, so you got to keep that game going. Exactly. So we first got there, the sound engineer. Do you want to come in and meet the organizers? They're inside having dinner right now. So Sacco and I'm in a pair of like gym shorts and a T-shirt. Sacco's dressed not much different.
No, I've seen those shorts. It actually says gym, G-I-M, across the back of them.
I stole them.
Right where you're at. Right.
I stole them from that guy. Either way, so we're like, yeah, we'll go in and say hi. And we're not really dressed for anything, but we'll at least go in and say hi. It was in the middle of the Eagle Forum board meeting that we get pulled into, and now we're the people that they've commissioned to do the entire event for the weekend. The two or three owners of the SHR Media Group, because
the third wasn't there. And here's this entire board of conservatives, and not obviously I'm a conservative as well, but they were all dressed really well, suit and tie. They're having their board meeting with a dinner, and here comes Sacco and then seeing you two sound guys show up and be like, all right, we got the booze, where's the show? Right.
And the looks and then I looked down the table, nobody else was drinking. Not even a glass of wine. Not because it was during the board meeting. They were being professional.
Right. But you got asked in. Which is a difference.
We were kind of like hoodwinked, if you will.
Right.
Into it.
Speaking of professionals.
Yes.
The Bob just walked into studio.
Bobby!
The Bobbin is here,
folks,
and he's got his Sky Striker shirt on, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
awesome.
No,
that is awesome. The Sky Striker, and he brought a 6-pack of beer.
Yes,
which is admission for
right. If you're going to show up at the SHR Studios, beer is a requirement to get through the door. If you don't go in, we'll bounce you right out.
Right.
I'm being told with the water shortage and Sacco being as hairy as he is, we should invest in flea dip.
Oh we have.
Okay.
We also have the powder bath.
Right. We have that ready to go. So
yeah, and the bath wipes.
I was just going to shave him for the summer, and give him. Have you ever seen like shear? Well, shave or shear, Sacco?
Shear. No,
he doesn't know.
No, he's a beast. He gets sheared.
I was gonna bring him to a groomer and have him give him a lion. Have you ever seen that when they do that with long-haired dogs, where they leave the front part with like the mane and everything? I thought we would do that with Sacco for the summer. For Vegas.
Sacco's got a full beard on, and seriously, it's like his 5 o'clock shadow for everybody else.
Well, the funniest part is it wasn't that long when he came in today.
No, it wasn't at all.
He sneezed twice and held his nose, yes. And it grew 4 inches.
It did.
I've never seen anything like that.
And it's so much out of his ears, like his headphones are popping forward, if you see those right there.
And then the Bob walks in and hasn't shaved in 4 years.
Right, and it's like smooth. He has those piercing blue eyes, though.
He does. I actually felt it cut my skin at one point.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know why, but it's good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're here.
Welcome. And thanks for the beer.
Don't blow a kiss at me. I'm on the air.
Okay, you can blow a kiss at me. Perfect. Thank you. I actually needed that today. So, really?
Yeah.
With that, okay. So we're going to go back to ISIS now. After Texas,
you need a sound of a coin being flipped, Sacco. Right. Other side of the coin now.
So what are we talking about now? Okay, ISIS.
Thanks for ruining the fun, guys.
After
ISIS.
After the attack in Texas, a self-described American jihadist basically says that there are trained ISIS soldiers positioned throughout the United States in 15 states, and that they're just awaiting orders to carry out more attacks. That's interesting. Right? I mean,
scary.
I believe it.
I believe it as well.
I believe it. One of the purported warnings from ISIS says, quote, out of the 71 trained soldiers, 23 have signed up for missions like Sunday. We are increasing in number. First of all, out of 71, you have less than 50% sign up for a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well,
how dedicated are you? Second of all, where do you go to sign up?
They're like the guys,
right, like if there's 71 of them throughout the United States, that's like 1.5
sign up.
That's like 1.5 per state.
They're like the guys who hang around the gym but never lift a weight.
Right.
I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a vein in my arm.
You want me to spot
working.
you? Yeah, I can spot you.
So if you have 1.5 roughly per state,
there you are,
and one is 1.5 maybe in Hawaii, 1.5 in Alaska. Where do they go to? Is there a central sign-up point? And if there is, why does the government not know about it?
Well, the government didn't know.
You'd have to have it in a Christian church, right? Like, where would
then the government would know about it.
Oh, right, right.
They would know everything about it.
That's a good point.
Put it in an abortion clinic.
Yes.
If you put it in an abortion clinic, nobody would ever talk about it.
Right.
Well, that's weird. There's a lot of Arab guys.
Because obviously they believe in killing, so what the heck, right?
There's a lot of Arab guys getting abortions lately.
Right. That's one ugly broad.
But
wow, somebody knocked that up, really?
But you how many bears? It really brings you to the scary point, though, of they are here. And we've talked about this on the show for a year now.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum sometimes.
Well,
to really beat the point home. We know about our southern border. We know we have Americans going over and coming back from places where ISIS has been training and active. We know we've had American citizens arrested for attempting to leave the country to go fight with ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
What makes and in most of their statements, their whole plan was to go over, train, and come back.
And then come back.
Actively pursue here.
Right.
One of these guys was out of Minnesota. Originally, which is the biggest Somali population in the country and a high density of Islamic extremists.
So is that where the 71 are, perhaps? Maybe like 70 of them were there, and one is somewhere else?
There's a guy down in like Flint, Michigan, who's like...
the Flint, Michigan tropics.
The Flint, Michigan tropics. He's like, hey, listen, if you guys want to do sign-ups, I'm in.
Right, but I don't have airfare, so...
I can't go all the way to Detroit.
Right. Do you have like a self-addressed prepaid envelope or something that you could send me?
Little 3x5 information card?
Yeah, just something.
So, you want to join ISIS?
Right. Another part of the warning.
I'm Troy McClure.
Said of the 15 states, 5 we will name: Virginia, Maryland, Illinois, California. There's a shock.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Michigan.
Well, I have a feeling I know where some of the 71 might be.
So if somebody actually is in Flint, Michigan, you may be getting a knock at your door.
I just feel.
How did you know, Sackhead Sean, that there was somebody in Flint, Michigan, and that they did in fact like the tropics?
Well, you know,
because they did have a copy of Semi-Pro in the DVD player.
Bro. How great would it be if they have an arrest in Flint, Michigan, and like they're showing you evidence pictures from the inside, and there are tropic posters all over the place? It's the Flint Tropics. Fourth place. There's the full body cutout of Will Ferrell like passing a ball, like,
but it's got a little wick on it, like it's a bomb.
It's taped on. Oh, I'm so glad we could laugh at terrorism. I have to laugh, though, because the reality of it's frightening. You could be in a public place, and we know all the warnings were there, but when you see it like you see it in Texas, it shocks the soul. It shocks the mind. It shocks the body. We've been talking about it. We know they were coming, but to see it portrayed, and you listen to all the chatter that went before this, and there's people in England that were tweeting. What?
I just had a thought when you said when you said it shocks the soul. I had a picture of Ken with a big old afro getting shocked and like all his hair straightening out.
No.
Right. I'm sorry.
But there was chatter ahead of time overseas, essentially proclaiming that this was going to happen within an hour or so of the attack. And, you know, they did the whole so-and-so is going to strike at the heart of American infidels and secure his place with the 52 virgin computer programmers. And
it's going to...
72? How many computer programmers do they get now?
Yeah, like one.
WoW people, WoW kids, World of Warcraft kids?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's going to be the biggest shock when they're up there and like, 72 virgin dudes. Oh, damn it.
Virgin dudes.
Damn it.
And there are other computer guys like us.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sacco.
What happened?
We didn't say female virgins.
Read the fine print. Right. It's variable. All this is a variable. Listen, have you read it? Does it really sound like we know what the hell we're talking about?
Got killed.
Right.
Right. Some A6s
Shut
right into his palace.
Yeah. Intruders came for a ride.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. What's that sound?
When did we get those?
Those are really fast birds with lights. Oh, damn it. The Americans are here. You know, that's kind of what...
And Gaddafi did nothing but have his smoking hot bodyguards and like ramble on for hours at the UN. That's all he did after that.
I still, to this day, think that was the funniest thing about Gaddafi. Like, I'm just going to have the hottest bodyguards in the world. Right. And then people will love me.
And they're going to be badasses.
And we did.
And they're going to be badasses.
Right.
Because they were.
I loved Gaddafi the last 5 years. He was like a comedy show. I still go back to the fact that we needed to do like a sitcom with Putin and Gaddafi in San Francisco. I think that would have been brilliant.
Gaddafi looked like Michael Jackson and Richard Pryor had a love child.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
The white Michael Jackson.
Right. Morph those two together.
Right. But I really think that we should have already dropped ordnance. I really think that within hours of ISIS even claiming, hey, listen, you want to own this? Okay, this is yours now. We'll be right there. And then that whole town in Syria that they claim is their headquarters, they have ISIS state-run media, a radio station, a form of government. I hate to tell you, folks, we're at war with another country at this point. It might be the size of Luxembourg. Doesn't mean it's not a country.
And look, and they have operatives everywhere. In February, the FBI director, what's his name? James Comey?
Clapper?
Cupid? I don't know. Some Phoebe guy. He says that they were investigating people with ties to ISIS in 49 states, including self-radicalized Americans.
Mm-hmm.
49 states.
Yeah. Yeah.
ISIS was claiming 15. Are those 15 states where people were trained abroad? But the FBI said 49 states.
I don't know if they'll train broads. Oh, overseas. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, overseas. So if the FBI believes that they're operatives, whether they're self-radicalized Americans or they were foreign-trained fighters,
doesn't matter if they pledge allegiance.
It doesn't
they pledge
matter.
allegiance.
Right, they're ISIS.
It's like when immigrants come here. Once they pledge allegiance,
you're a Boston fan whether you're in California or Boston, Massachusetts.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So what steps are we taking to deal with them on the homeland? Because obviously this president has no idea.
No, and he refuses to even acknowledge that it's going on. Look he won't even say Islamist extremist, Muslim extremist. He won't say
even
any
after
of that.
this attack and even after ISIS claims responsibility.
Nothing. And everybody else is calling it what it is. Even the left. Yeah, they're blaming Pamela Geller for all this, but they're still calling them ISIS operatives or extremists. They can't not admit it. There's too much fact out there. They can't look any stupider than they already are.
Right.
But this president refuses to acknowledge it.
I want to know how these radical Islamic extremists know that a picture of the Prophet Muhammad was actually drawn. Because they
offensive.
Can't... Because, well, you can't even draw it.
Oh, why not?
And they can't view it.
You can't?
No. So if there was, in fact, one drawn, how do they know it wasn't a blank piece of paper where somebody said, look, it's a picture of the Prophet Muhammad? And they just, kill him. How do you prove that that picture was drawn? Because you can't view it. Is there an exemption?
It's like Schrodinger's cat.
Right.
Is it dead in the box or is it alive in the box?
Right.
Does it become dead once I open the box or is it dead no matter what?
Right. Is there an exemption for them viewing a picture of the Prophet Muhammad for purposes of verifying that somebody violated? Wait, can they violate it to verify that somebody else violated it and then kill them?
What if it starts like a suicide
I don't think
train?
it is.
What if it starts a suicide train? All right, guys, we all know how this goes. I have to go view to see if the picture was or was not. Once I commit suicide, that's the symbol.
And how
so he goes up and he kills himself, and everyone's like, well, did he say yay or nay? Well, I don't know. Well, Frank, you're next. And walk up. Bam! We could get a lot accomplished with this.
Wait a second. How do you know it's actually a picture of Muhammad if nobody's seen him or nobody's allowed to have a picture of him?
What if
I just drew a picture of some random guy and named him Mohammed?
Right.
And he's a capitalist and he likes profit.
What if we have a mutual friend with that as a surname? What if we drew a picture of him?
That would never stand up in any court because you couldn't prove. Can you identify this photograph as the Prophet Muhammad? No.
Bang.
Why not? Because I've never seen a picture of the Prophet Muhammad. Then how do you know that's what was drawn? Because it's illegal. You can't do it. Wait, what?
It's not illegal. It's only illegal in Sharia law.
Right, which doesn't
And once you
happen
have people
here.
claiming that you can't depict Muhammad in a negative way.
I didn't. I just drew a picture of this
guy. Despite the First
guy,
Amendment, which people are actually calling for. That is an implementation of Sharia law.
Yes.
Scary.
Yeah. Hey, ISIS, if you can't verify it, why are you getting all uppity trying to kill people? Right? Hey, ISIS, if nobody knows what the Prophet really looked like because you can't draw a picture of him, how do you know they actually drew the Prophet? They could have drawn Steve.
Who was his doppelganger.
And
was regularly confused.
And you may not believe in doppelgangers, which means it's just Steve.
Right. I absolutely. There's a hole in their murderous argument.
Right.
You found the trick. Good job, Clint.
Who's on first, right?
I don't know. Third base.
Third base.
Right. I can't believe. Imagine if that worked.
I want to know why nobody's thought of this before.
Can you imagine if that worked, though?
Can you imagine if the president's spokesman comes out tomorrow and says, so we want to know how ISIS actually knows that a picture of the Prophet was drawn?
Hey, John.
I don't know. Never seen it.
I'm going to go on a limb real quick and pick number 4. I'm sorry, what number was that? Oh, it was just number 4.
Or you could have 5 pictures and 1 blank one.
Which one is not the Prophet Muhammad?
Right.
Oh,
I think Sacco
man.
just gave us the 2-minute warning.
I think Sacco knows that there's probably going to be a caliphate put on us real soon.
What's funny is nobody knows that I'm actually Sackhead Sacco, and Sackhead Clint is totally off the air right now.
Right. And Sean could be Bob.
Presenting his...
To talk about other big, important things. We may follow up on another story we touched on earlier, but I doubt it. All that...
I'm going to fill Bob in on that story.
Yeah, I think that's a good
break.
idea. All that and more right here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Back in a few.
Presenting His Most Royal Majesty, the King.
The King, Your Majesty.
Sheriff of Nottingham, in gratitude for your faithful service, I shall knight thee.
Your Most Gracious Majesty.
In the name of my Most Royal Majesty, I knight thee. Arise, sirloin of beef. Arise, Earl of Cloves. Arise, Duke of Brittingham. Arise, Baron of Munchausen. Arise, Essence of Myrrh, Duke of Magnesia, Quarter of 10.
You are too kind, Your Majesty.
Got lots of stamina.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border who says coordination, we got to take them in. Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
I think we're on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Sacco forgot to give the high side. Yeah, my name may or may not have been there on the ballot or as a write-in. No,
so you had Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee, Carly Fiorina.
Oh, good, Mike Huckabee. That would be awesome.
Allegedly, Rick Santorum's going to declare this weekend. I feel like I'm honestly leaving somebody out.
One thing you're leaving out is Larry Flynt
endorsed
Hillary Clinton.
What better way to say I support women than to have Larry Flynt?
Right. Now, I want to know if he's actually trying to get her to do like a photo shoot.
No.
How do you know?
Because he wants to sell newspapers.
No, he wants to sell Hustler.
Or whatever, magazines, Hustler.
Right.
That wouldn't do it.
You don't think so?
I wouldn't buy it.
I'm not saying you would buy it. Who buys magazines anymore? But, wait, what? The Bob.
Hey, random thought.
I would want it autographed. I'd say autograph your name, but draw it in right here on your inner thigh like a tattoo.
I would want to see her hoof print.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Right. Was that code for moose knuckle? Because that's gross.
Too far?
Right.
Did I go too far again? Random thought real quick, going back to the last segment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but have you ever walked into a convenience store and they have the
couple
employee
times
of the month on the wall?
Yes.
What if one of those employee of the months was named Mohammed? Now, it's a depiction of Mohammed. If it just says Mohammed, we have no way of knowing if it's the prophet or not.
Right, but if he was the top seller,
right,
then it would be for profit.
For profit Mohammed.
Right.
I'm just saying something to think about. 7-Eleven.
Big profit Mohammed.
They want to change some things up.
Right.
Going back to
just call it M.
Going back to Hillary and Hustler. I think you're right, though. I think Larry Flynt is really going to get. I think he's into Hillary.
Well, I don't know if he is or not.
Wait,
are you talking figuratively or?
Figuratively.
Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry, my mistake.
All you women who love Larry Flynt and everything he's done for the preservation of females, and he's behind. Also, you have the hookers at the Bunny Ranch.
Yes.
They're also behind Hillary. So we're really moving forward with the preservation of women with the Hillary campaign.
Right, and the sex industry, which is kind of weird given the history of the Clinton family.
I'm sure they just figure that if she wins, Bill will have enough money to keep coming. That's their theory on it. It could be about pro-capitalism, and they're just taking a sly approach. Who knows?
Either way.
Either
way, they're looking for more bang for their buck. What?
As much as they can get. Actually, as little as they can get. They're talking profit, so.
Right.
And it's starting to be that way. You have Huckabee.
I like it. No, what?
No, it's done. Don't try to relive magic.
Yeah, don't try to leave her. You should have let that play out. It's the
RNC. But now you have Huckabee and Santorum, people that have already proven to be bad for the Republicans when they start running for office. You have Dr. Ben Carson, and we've talked about Dr. Ben Carson. he has to campaign. I don't think he has to campaign in order to prove himself. I think his record does that alone. So the only other person who I'm actually kind of happy threw her name in the ring is Carly Fiorina.
Yeah.
Here's a person who comes strictly from a business background. She led HP. In California, they try to hammer her for laying people off. But you know what? She had a job to do, which is maintain HP's profit. And unfortunately, and she's even... These are all the things that Carly Fiorina brings to the table. I believe Carly Fiorina actually will have much more staying power than anybody's giving her credit for. I also could see her as a good VP pick.
She could be like the Republican version of Barack Obama.
Yes.
Nobody saw him coming.
No one saw him coming.
No one is really seeing her coming.
And I think too many people are underestimating her. And I think even too many people in the GOP are underestimating her, and that's a shame because she's got ability.
She does, and I want to get back to Huckabee real quick. Did you see in his video where he said every day of my life in politics was a fight, and sometimes it was an intense one, but any drunken redneck can walk into a bar and start a fight? Did you see this? First of all, if every day of your life in politics was a fight, then you're probably kind of a jerk. And I know you have no mic right now, so nobody could hear you laugh and chuckle and cackle on. But if every day of your life in politics is a fight, then something's wrong because you're not getting anything done. And not everything has to be a fight. There are certain things that we should be able to agree on. And then to say that any drunken redneck can walk into a bar and start a fight, I think he's kind of alienating a percentage of his
rednecks
voting base.
Right. Yeah.
You're talking about your good old boys there who typically vote conservative. That was almost like an Obama-esque put down, right? Like, oh, just the drunken redneck, just kind of like the stupid, misinformed, drunken, blue-collar, good old boy. Anybody, any one of those can start a fight.
No, I agree.
Right?
Well, listen. We all know
what could you imagine the outcry if a candidate said any pants sagging thug can go in and start a fight? People would lose their minds.
It's true,
right?
Right.
People would lose their minds.
People would go insane. But they would lose it.
Right, but because he said drunken redneck can walk into a bar and start a fight, right? If he said any pants sagging thug could walk into a Popeyes and start a fight, I mean that's people would go crazy.
Absolutely insane.
Right.
Absolutely insane. And rightfully so. It's a statement of ignorance.
It is. Like what, all rednecks have to go to bars? That's like saying all thugs have to go to whatever. It's ridiculous.
Well, any redneck with a big pickup truck doing a two-step and going to a bar and cause a fight with somebody chewing tobacco.
Right.
White people.
Right. No, essentially he's essentially stereotyping a particular group of people.
Yes.
And that was my point in being absurd and saying obviously the other things I was saying. So Huckabee bothers me right off the bat.
Agdor in the chat room is going to find a way to say exactly what I just said somehow in conversation. Please do. I would appreciate that. Well, listen, but this goes to show you again lack of leadership on the higher levels of the GOP.
But he's saying it's leadership. A leader only starts a fight he's prepared to finish. I would argue this. A leader doesn't start a fight.
He finishes it.
A leader finishes a fight.
Right.
A leader finds a way to work through something. A leader finds a way to bring people together. A leader finds a way to accomplish his or her objectives in a manner that's consistent with his or her beliefs. And if somebody starts a fight, a leader is capable of finishing that fight. But a leader is not. A leader doesn't start a fight that he's prepared to finish. What does that mean? That a leader runs from a fight he's not prepared to finish?
Yeah, you're leaving a lot open to question there. I was talking more of the GOP leadership.
No, I know you were, but I wanted to get on Huckabee because you said Huckabee
right, dude,
threw his hat in the ring, so I wanted to get that out.
Huck, Saturday night, do your show, play your bass, call it a day.
Right.
I'm not saying Huck doesn't do good in this world.
No, I'm not talking about him personally, but his politics.
This election, no way. No way. You look at what he did the last time he ran and the amount of damage that he did. He's poison. Same thing with Rick Santorum.
Yep.
Poison.
Yep.
And it's names that if we really want to win, you got to get away. And if I'm Reince Priebus, I am going. I
Is
don't.
It Pubis or Priebus?
Priebus.
Okay, I get that confused.
I don't understand why these people aren't being got to and said, "Hey, you need to stop. You're hurting us more than you're helping us. You want to help us? Spread our message around. Our message, not yours. Our message." And then you actually get a real message with the GOP, one about conservatism and restoring the republic and not this ridiculousness that they are now. But any of those will do. But instead, you allow Huck to come out and Rick Santorum, and there will be support there. That's the scariest part. You will have higher up support these guys on some. It's just got to end.
Yeah.
At some point. We are hurting ourselves as a party, and as much as I hate to admit that I'm a party in the GOP, I don't have a choice right now. Until the Tea Party or somebody else wants to step up and step away, I will gladly leave the Republican Party. But right now, they are the party that most meets my values. And you're getting...
More so than the Libertarian Party or the American Conservative Party?
Well, any of those. If they put up a good candidate, good platform, I absolutely would. The problem is their candidates and their platforms are very narrow-minded. And I don't mean that in a positive way. There's some things you have to be narrow-minded about. But we need, in this nation, as I talk about, we need more than two parties. George Washington said it.
We just need to do away with the party system altogether.
Right.
We need no parties.
But we need...
Except for like Ragers on Friday nights. Those are fun.
Almost like...
like at SHR Studio right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the Bob brings beer.
Or like Andrew Jackson used to have at the White House. Just full-on Ragers.
Right.
The cheese party.
Right.
Does anyone remember that story? The big ball of cheese that was dropped off the White House and he allowed people to come and have a Rager and eat it for like a month?
Yeah.
We need that again. A little party at the White House would be a blast, actually.
That would be great. Right, cars up on the lawn.
Cars up. The
exterior looks like the after party from Weird Science.
There were
a missile right through the middle of the floor coming up.
There were people literally passed out in the White House from booze. How great is that?
Oh, that's awesome. Newt Gingrich used to do, or Senator Ted Kennedy used to do that a lot, I heard.
Yeah, but it was all in his office.
That's true. What I want to know, I want to get your take on. We only have a few minutes left. Is the NFL investigation was released today on the New England Patriots, and you picked a perfect time to take your mic down, which means I can talk about the New England Patriots all I want, and you really have no response for a few minutes. But the investigation found that employees, it was more than probable that the locker room attendant and another equipment assistant for the Patriots were involved in a deliberate effort to release air from the footballs after they were examined by the referee. The report does include text messages between those two individuals, Jim McNally and John Jastremski, if I'm pronouncing that right. You would know better than I, Sean. That imply that Tom Brady was requesting footballs deflated below 12.5 pounds per square inch. So, what should the NFL do?
Well, it depends. Can you hear me?
No. I can't hear you. So you have no response to this, obviously. So you obviously believe that the New England Patriots were, in fact, dirty. Do you have any response to that?
I do, actually.
Oh, okay.
There we go. First of all, I believe that they said it wasn't conclusive.
No. They said it was more than probable.
But not conclusive?
More than probable.
Okay.
A deliberate effort to release air.
But let's see. We deal with the legal system here on a regular basis.
Yeah, but that's not what this is. It's an NFL investigation.
Well, then what's the NFL rules on this?
That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know what the NFL
I think the whole
rules.
team has to be suspended, disbanded, and completely disbarred from the league for life.
You'd like to see that. However, reality is what it is. Whatever their rules are, if this is in fact the case, if they broke the rules, whatever they deem to be punishment.
What would you? So you are in charge of the league. What would you punish the team for?
If I was in charge of the league?
Yes.
It would depend on the totality of the investigation.
Yeah, based upon the facts we just talked about.
Right.
Listen,
but I don't know.
Don't be a lib.
No, I'm not being a lib. You've actually
You're dodging the question.
You've left a few things out.
Based upon what we just discussed, what is a reasonable punishment? You suspend Brady for 2 games?
But there's no proof that he was directly involved.
There's text messages saying that he was requesting footballs deflated below 12.5 pounds.
Right. I could have a text message on my phone saying that you were asking for a nose job. That doesn't mean you're ever going to get one.
Hang on. You promised me that you wouldn't bring that up.
We deal with facts on this show, right?
Right.
So the facts is
they
say, but that could have very well been that Brady walked
see
by.
How defensive he gets, folks?
Well, you're asking me to defend it.
I'm asking you what you think the punishment should be.
Right. But
if this is true,
I'm not
what
ready
should
to
the
jump to
punishment
punishment yet. I haven't got to the punishment phase. We're still determining guilt and innocence. The final report hasn't been released in its totality. Therefore, it hasn't been released in its totality. Therefore, you're asking me to make a determination.
So, Sean,
based on
hang on, let me paint
evidence.
a picture right now. Sean is holding the microphone with both hands. It is out of the stand.
Like a heavy metal singer.
He's gripping it so hard that his entire hand is red and his knuckles are white. The microphone is literally 2 millimeters from his lips. Spittle is going everywhere while he's talking. He's beat red in the face, and a big purple vein is present in his forehead.
Right.
As his shoulders are rolled forward and his head is tucked down because everything is tight in a very defensive, angry posture. Okay, go ahead, Sean, continue.
That's exactly where I am.
No, I know. I was just painting a picture for our listeners.
No, I want to see the totality. That text message could have been as simple as Brady walking by the locker room attendant talking to someone else, be like, you know what, if the balls were 10 pounds lighter, it'd be great. And he was like, oh, gotcha, even though that wasn't his intent.
Oh.
You know how we talk about intent on this show a lot of times.
Right.
We talk about facts.
I didn't know
Would
NFL
you say,
rules had
based on the
specific
evidence
intent.
released in Baltimore, that the 6 police officers are obviously guilty?
No.
Right, because it hasn't been completed and you haven't seen the totality
No,
of the
because that whole
investigation.
situation's dirty. No, I'm not saying
How
the
do you know
cops
this
are clean,
isn't?
but
How do you know the NFL?
because the officials inspected, the officials inspected the balls,
right,
and they were at the proper.
How do you know the
inflated
NFL's not in damage
issue.
mode right now? Damage control. How do you know that this isn't something that's prevalent? throughout
Somebody
the-
jumps to conspiracy theories, right? If this
We
were,
talk about stuff like this
if
all the
this
time.
were,
now. We
what
talk
team,
about the
what
White House
NFL
doing-
team do you hate?
I really don't have a team I hate per se.
Or which one do you dislike? Like Raiders?
Yeah, Raiders.
Raiders.
I guess.
So if this were the Raiders,
but even then,
if this were the Yankees,
but even
and
then,
they deflated the baseballs,
even then,
they
I
used
have enough
aluminum
respe-
bats.
I have enough respect for the game where I wouldn't come right out. I'm not.
You are.
How many times?
3 times.
Right. At least.
Right. He's getting more red. Thank you, Sacco. Thank you, Sacco. That's from Sacco with a bright red shirt and an Oakland Athletics baseball hat on.
But
me too. No, I'm an A's fan too, Sacco. Don't be defensive. Don't get red like Sean. It's okay.
But the other thing we have to talk about, we talked about this when it happened, is the balls get checked regularly. The officials were holding them regularly throughout the entire game.
The officials do
So
regularly
now-
hold the balls, and throughout the game, they're handling them.
And
they're
they should
placing
know.
them down.
Right?
I'm not disagreeing with
That's
that.
why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I want to see the totality of
So
this.
everybody that participated in that game, including the referees, should all be fined.
Absolutely, including the Colts, because the Colts use those balls as well.
Right. So they were also using a deflated ball.
If it was in fact deflated, and it was in fact proven that it was done,
It was deflated.
well, but what I'm saying is where do you want to argue? Because if you want to argue over intent,
I don't want to argue. I want to know what you think the punishment should be if it's true.
Every time I tell you, right, if it's true,
yes,
then whatever the NFL deems to be necessary. I don't know the NFL.
It doesn't matter.
System well.
You're in charge of everything. You
if
make
I'm in
the
charge,
rules.
absolutely, I'm fining everybody involved. Everyone on that.
That's
field
it. Finding no days off, no suspensions.
We can do suspensions.
I'm asking you.
You keep asking me, and I tell you what, and then you ask me for more, and I'm giving you more.
You're not giving me specifics.
What do I need to give you specific? Fine.
How much?
Everybody on the field has to shave their head.
Okay.
And donate 25% of their yearly salary
Okay.
from referees on down to a charity that I pick.
Okay. SHR Media Relief Fund.
And, well, okay, SHR Media Relief Fund. Such a noble charity. Please give to the SHR Media Relief Fund.
Defending Liberty.
Absolutely, Defending Liberty cause. And community service.
Okay.
Absolutely community service.
Okay.
Try to win back. If that's the case, like I said, I don't think that's the case yet. I want to see it all.
Okay. See, I would go with this. The rules say 12.5 to 13.5.
I asked you what the rules said.
Oh, I don't know what the rules say. That's why I said, what would you punish them as you make the rules? That's why I said that, right?
I hate you.
So here's what I think my punishment would be.
I'm going to read directly from the NFL rule book that I have pulled up in front of me.
No, honestly,
look
I
at
don't
me.
have it.
I'm really smart and I have a big nose.
Look, I'm
so
showing you.
So you're going to cite the article you were reading?
No, not at all. So 12.5 to 13.5 pounds is what the balls are required to be inflated to. For the entire coming up season, Brady would have to use a ball that is inflated to 13.5 pounds.
Okay.
So it's still within the acceptable limits of the NFL rules, but he doesn't get his nice, squishy, soft balls that he
So
likes
it's like a probation.
to handle so much.
So it's like probation.
Right. And because there is no direct knowledge, so we can't punish him, like you said.
Oh, so then why are we giving him probation?
We're not. We're making him use a ball that's inflated to the maximum allowable pressure under NFL rules. That's not probation.
No, but now you're setting rules specifically for Tom Brady.
No, I'm not. It's between 12.5 and 13.5. It's 13.5.
Right, but if you're saying his
because
has
there's a text
to be,
message. This is my story right now. I let you
No,
answer your
you
shave
argued
the
with
head.
me earlier.
25 points.
You argued with me earlier.
Okay, go. Because it's still within NFL rules, so it's not really a punishment. If he has to operate within the rules, it's just on the high end of the rules.
Yeah, but
that's not really a punishment.
You're targeting him specifically.
It's a guideline. Because everybody in the game
specifically.
Everybody in the game has to play with that ball, just like you
now,
said, Sean.
if you want to inflate everybody so it's even,
everybody's ball in that game that Tom Brady plays in has to be 13.5.
Both sides of the ball.
Both sides of the ball, 13.5, because it's within NFL regs.
I still disagree.
But every game that he plays, it's 13.5.
I still disagree.
It's not between 12.5 and 13.5. You can disagree. I didn't disagree with your shave the heads.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Right? No, I said it's beautiful. I said, okay. All right, shaved heads. It's great. I love it. And then I would fine the equipment manager.
Oh, I'd remove him. I'd actually remove
if I were but see, I don't think that's NFL's job to remove him. I think that's the Patriots' job. Whether
the
they're
NFL owns
him
the
or
rights
not.
to the games, and they own the right to operation. If he did that intentionally, then I think he should be removed from the game.
See, I believe that the owners should have that final say because he's their employee. But I think he should definitely be fined and league probation put in. Both of the individuals involved.
Oh, I think he should be gone. If he really did it,
and Belichick should be fired.
Oh, now we get down to it.
Cheater face.
Uh-huh.
Big old cheater head. Uh-huh. Again.
Hey, at least half my team's not in jail.
Again. Oh, no, I'm not saying my team's any better. Right? My team does bad stuff. They do it off the field.
Right. They beat women and stuff.
Right. Your team's a bunch of big old cheaters on the field where it counts.
Right. You're right. Just like the Super Bowl, all the underinflated. Oh, that's right. They weren't underinflated.
That was a legit game. I give them props for that. You're so cute when you get flustered when we talk about your teams.
I'm not flustered. I'm really
You
not.
are. Bob,
No.
is he flustered? Thank you. That's a nod in the affirmative.
Says the guy who's
from Bob. Don't start talking bad about Bob. He just nodded his head and gave an opinion. So you can't go fire one across the bow, and he has no microphone to defend himself.
I can fire one across the bow. You just brought him into this.
And he's got he's got a G.I. Joe Sky Striker t-shirt on, which is awesome.
You just brought
You
him
have
into
to
the
give him props for the G.I. Joe
I said
Sky
earlier I
Striker.
did.
Okay.
But you brought him into the conversation and then get mad when I want to make him part of the conversation.
No, I get mad when you want to make fun of him and belittle the guy. He brought us beer.
Well, he elected to
But
come
now
in,
that it's gone, you want to start talking bad about him?
he elected to come in here. That's a risk he takes by himself.
Kind of like we threw down to Liberal Jake.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't come strolling in here and expect an easy room.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. I don't care where you're from. Ohio, anywhere. It doesn't happen.
Right. Have you seen the guy who actually made up the 3D gun?
Yes.
How he is kind of taking on the feds with his 3D printer?
I have. And you know what? This brings up a very interesting... I know we only have a couple minutes left, so I'll cut short. But at the end of the day, why is it different than any other firearm?
Because it doesn't meet the definition.
Correct. So where do the feds have any point of walking in and saying anything?
They don't.
So why is this a story?
Because the feds have made it a story. Because people are losing their minds over this, and they shouldn't be. It's not violating any laws, right? Because the State Department got involved, right? Saying that the feds are saying that he violated the international traffic in arms regulations, which requires advanced government authorization to export technical data. So they could be going after him for like up to 20 years in prison. He was ordered to remove the blueprints from online from his site. They're claiming that they took control of his intellectual property. It's a big deal. And so he is now up for a fight.
He has to wear a scarlet letter. He's being accused of witchcraft.
Right.
You know, all that.
They want to burn him at the stake. I know we have like less than a minute and a half left. I wanted to bring it up as kind of a case to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a case to watch. And this is going to set a precedence either way, which is kind of sad. But it goes to show you that it doesn't matter what you make at home. They're going to find a way to be all over it, and they're going to find a way. Listen, this guy's life is going to be jacked if they try it. And you know the feds. The feds, if they can't get him this way, we look at Al Capone.
Yeah.
They'll find a way to get him. So definitely something to watch on the line.
Socko, close the door on this segment. That means it's a closed door on the show, my friend.
Hey, it's been a blast.
It has been a blast.
Thank you to all of our listeners in the chat room. Great chat room going tonight. I really, really appreciate you guys. You want to stick around right here because Jason Miller is actually going to anchor the British elections. They're starting tonight, our time, until tomorrow evening. And Jason's going to be anchoring it pretty much around the clock, except for a couple other little shows here and there in the meantime to give him a break. But it directly affects our country. It's definitely something we have to watch. So stick around for Jason right here on SHR Media with the British elections. I will see you next Wednesday night.
My friend.
Right here on the SHR Media Network. Check me out tomorrow morning. Well, if you're on the East Coast, tomorrow at noon. If you're on the West Coast, tomorrow at 9 a.m. For the Edge of Liberty, WNGT, 1360 a.m. Philadelphia. Check us out, Facebook.com/SackheadsRadio, and follow us at SHR Media. Thank you so very, very much for everyone who joined us. We'll talk to you next week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.